join us, I would like to say a really good morning to the lovely Paula Esson. Hi, Paula.
Hi.
And Shannon.
Hello.
Hi, Shannon. They're both coming from Northern Ireland. I'm Rosemary Farrow. I'm from ThinkTree Hub. We're bringing this to you in order to really help you understand how to use PPE in your private therapy practice. We know for some of the guidelines that are published already, it is absolutely mandatory to use PPE. Now, Northern Ireland has gone back a little bit before us. So I'm going to ask Paula in a minute to say a little bit about how she's been finding it in Northern Ireland with the new regulations in practice. Paula's been involved with Bowen therapy for over 20 years. She is absolutely, well, it said from one thing, if she was a stick of rock, you would see the Bowen technique written through Paula. I don't know whether that is true or not. She's nodding her head, yeah.
Yes, that's amongst other things. There's a few other colour stripes in there as well.
Yeah, an absolute specialist in pain management, and particularly cares very much about working with the NHS and relieve the economic pressures the NHS are under with the kind of techniques that she can bring and teach. And Shannon, just by the way, she's a scrub nurse. She's been a scrub nurse for many years, so she's an absolute expert in how to do PPE, because scrub nurses are the essential part of theatre nursing, making sure that we have everything as clean and hygienic as possible. So you cannot learn from a better person than Shannon. So Paula, Paula, how's it been in the last week or so since you've been back in Northern Ireland? How have you been finding it?
It's been absolutely fine, but there's a few things that it's interesting that you don't know until you know as such when you're actually into it. So although the guidelines are covering the extremes of the situation and exactly how to manage it, what it can't do is pre-think how a client's going to be. Yeah. And you've got very frustrated clients in pain. You've got very frustrated clients who are like just wanting to get back to some level of normality. And 80% of the people I saw last week were determined to twist my arm not to wear PPE.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they say it was all right. They wasn't in their house, it wasn't anywhere around them. They hadn't been in touch. It was safe, etc. They didn't like the idea of the rustling apron. I didn't like the idea of the rustling apron. That was the most annoying piece of the whole thing, I have to say.
Was it?
Yes, because it's so I'm now going to try and order non-rustling, organic, disposable, recyclable, whatever aprons. Yeah. Because it's just like, you just rustle around the person, rustle. You couldn't have something more unrelaxing. And it just, because you've got to have the high ventilation as the number one priority, you've also got breeze. And what that breeze is doing is it's flapping your apron up into your face. So you can imagine what the problem this is, because of course we're trying to keep the apron, just want to shut the door there, that's the gate, yeah. We're trying to keep the apron down, obviously. So now I'm trying to find ways. So you start stuffing in your pockets, and of course that's not useful. Yeah, and so it's just trying to find a way around the silly little things, yeah, of how it's actually sort of affecting. But you know, it's really important that as therapists, you know, we're not allowed to work around the head and neck. And I know some people in the industry have been saying, oh, that's absolutely fine, you can work at arm's length. Well, my arms have never been 1 meter long, except maybe on this wall I can make them look like that, yeah. And you can't get away from it. And especially when you're doing TMJ work and net work and SCM work and drainage, you get coughs, you get sneezes, you get hiccups, you get all of it. So my strong advice is to follow that guideline and stay away, just for now, from the head and neck. Another thing that came really clear was the amount of washing. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you're having to change the level of towelage and stuff between every client. And that sort of level of towelage, you've got 2 massive bin bags, if not more, at the end of the day. And then you've got to get that turned over by the next morning at 60-degree washes, which are long. So you've got all these little impacts. So we switched over to linen sheets, which are light, cotton, non-iron linen sheets and pillowcases. And although I'm wearing my sporty stuff right now, Shannon very kindly sort of put me in the right direction to get scrubs. So I've got scrubs because they're light and easy to wash. So it's just all that sort of like thinking about how we start moving forward. But the biggest impact has definitely been the client not wanting us to take any action at all. And they're thinking that it's an overreaction. But, you know, overreaction or no overreaction, that's not the point. We've been given a strong government guideline, a legislation that says we must follow this. And we shouldn't be trying to, as therapists, especially because we're not regulated, even more so because we're not regulated, many of us, is that we can't try and find these workarounds to suit ourselves, because it's just unacceptable. And if the guideline says you shouldn't treat more than 4 people in one day, and there should be half an hour in between, and the treatment should be no longer than 45 minutes, then that's what we need to follow. I haven't quite understood why therapists are feeling the need to not do that. It's just do it. You know, we're back at work. This is a massive plus. Yeah.
Exactly, Paula. It is an absolute massive plus that we're back and work. And, you know, if everybody is sensible, then, you know, regulations ultimately will be relaxed at some point. If people are not sensible, then who knows what might happen.
We'll be back to where we started in March. So it's, and Shannon knows that, and she'll be one of the first people to spot the difference working in the wards themselves.
Yeah.
So that's kind of for us too. It's annoying. It's fiddly. It's time consuming. The amount of sanitizing, which we're not doing today, you know, you have to cover as well. We run an Airbnb too, so we're kind of up to speed on that. You know, and the amount of checklists, your risk assessment, please do your full risk assessment. You know, the one that's on ThinkTree Hub is fabulous, perfect. And then really walk through your touch points and stuff like that, because you catch yourself in a right old knot, you know, between shutting a door with a hand and taking and something that Shannon brought up very early on was that if you've been doing it for years, it's habit. If you're trained as a nurse, it's habit. We are going to make mistakes all over the shop with our touch points and how we're working around a bed and what we then go to touch or pick up, or, you know, and you know, something else that was sort of coming out that people were considering going into people's homes with COVID-19 and COVID-19 symptoms. It was like, let's let that be a no. And we haven't even been given guidance to go mobile, I don't think, you know, and there's also guidance to sort of say we shouldn't really be treating from home. So it's, so all of those things. So if you can work in a clinical setting, in an independent, isolated clinical setting, that's the best way to go. If not, I'd hold fire till further guidance.
Yeah, I think that the home setting is very different, and with the stuff I was writing yesterday, you have to then consider, if you are going to do that, it's about how many households are you allowed to mix with. If anybody person comes into your house, that is one household that you are mixing with. So if you can mix with 2 households in a day, that actually means you can have 1 person to a home, but a home is a very high risk environment. A mobile, where you can control it even less, is way more risky. I've you know, myself heard a lot of clients saying, that's fine, I'm just going to go mobile. And they really, really need to consider how risky mobile is.
Very.
So much less that you can control. And I think we all, as you said, have to remember this is for now. It's not forever, but we need to control things and get it back to normal. And thank goodness we are at last able to help clients who have been screaming out, absolutely screaming out for help.
Yes.
And as you said, yes, it's inconvenient, but it's the same for everybody, whether they're regulated or unregulated. In fact, they're all having to make massive changes.
Well, it's a mindset, isn't it? And the mindset is, and it was actually my 78-year-old mother that said this the other day as a social worker, you know, in a past job in Manchester. And she said, it's interesting, very logical, this comment I'm about to come up with. You wouldn't go to your dentist and then say, well, please take all that visor and silly uniform you're wearing off because I find it uncomfortable. You wouldn't even consider that. No. You wouldn't be lying in a hospital bed and say, doctor, there's no need for the washing the hands, or the nurse, you know, no need to do all that stuff. You just comply. Yeah. So we have to be absolutely the same. And I'm going to say it again, we have to get regulated. Not because it's fun, it's not. It's time consuming and, you know, a lot of paperwork. But if you get regulated, we'll get even taken slightly more seriously than we are right now. And I really can see why the industry is not being taken seriously. You know, and, so the only way we can even start to be taken seriously is if we comply, even more than comply at this stage.
Yeah, and be seen to be complying as well.
Yes, and to be demonstrated compliance, and it to be very public and very government level. And, you know, Brittany Spence has been working very, very, very high in the APNT to actually sort of get this across, you know, whilst banging head on brick walls. So have I behind the scenes. It's led to high frustration. And it's just, please, just follow the guidelines. I know that everyone that's sitting here on this Zoom is here because they want to get that bit right. And I think on that note, and thank you for that, people over there. Yeah, it's going to be over to Shannon to show us how to do this properly, and they will laugh at each other because we get it so wrong.
Yeah, Shannon, yes, if you can, in the position of a therapist about to treat a client, take us through exactly how to do PPE correctly to keep not just, you know, our clients safe, but ourselves safe, and therefore our families safe as well.
This is it, and that's exactly the first point I was going to make, was that this piece of equipment, this gear, is to protect you, you know, as well as your client. So it is actually very important as to how you put it on and take it off, okay? So for starters, putting it on isn't too bad. Even if you get it wrong, it's fine. There's no right or wrong putting it on. I'll just go through the process. And it's basically the guidelines we've been given through the government. So it's all over our walls. But first of all, you'll take the apron, which is very noisy, rusty apron, and you can't get less.
I'll get less wrestling.
And the apron, as it does, goes over the head and ties around the back. So whatever way that is, and that's fine.
I'd also suggest trying to find an apron you can tie all the way around, like to the front, and tie a bow there for those who've got shoulders.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. So apron. Then the next step is our mask. Okay, so it's just an ordinary mask. You don't need any of the actual specific masks for going in as like a scrub nurse would do, or ICU nurse. But one tip we've been given is to try and keep the size of the mask as close to the face as possible.
Yeah.
What we do in the hospitals is that we have the mask like this and we just twist it.
Ah.
Okay, and then we put it around.
That's a neat tip.
So you can see the twist is there, all right? And the same with the other side. Twist it round. So once it's twisted, then it's behind the ears, then you can fix it to the nose. So you want to press in and around the face. Okay, and make sure it's under the chin. So all nose and mouth is covered. I'm just going to make sure you can hear me through the mask.
Yes, can hear you perfectly, Shannon.
Okay, so that's mask on. All right. And then we have these visors. Everybody will have different types of visors, but these ones I recommend, you know, because you can wash them. So it's not another, yet again, a waste, but they can be washed post clients. So the visor goes on and around. So it's just going around the back of the head, and you can see that the whole face is covered. All right. Now what might happen is that you might steam up at this point. So if you need to adjust mask accordingly around the nose and around the mouth, because once you've got your kit on and once you've engaged with that person, that's you, as we would call dirty, you know, because that's the terminology. And you've got to think that way as well, because it keeps it in your head. You can't touch any of this once we have interaction with the client. The last bit is the gloves. You know, advise getting gloves that fit. In surgery, we're very lucky that we can get gloves that are literally like another layer of skin. But if you can, just find the gloves that really suit you and fit you, because they're important, because these are your hands, these are your tools. And that is the full PPE, ready to go.
Wow. Fantastic. So can you take us through perhaps clients going on and client coming off, or how you might work?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll take the visor off of that then. Yeah, I'll keep the apron on and stuff like that. But, no, it was just saying, you know, I've got a towel on this bed. I'm just going to tip the screen so you can actually sort of see the cat. Yeah. So I was saying before, I've just got an ordinary sheet. Don't worry about it being all flat and beautician level and all the rest of it. That's, you know, seriously low priority, and I don't know how to iron anyway. Channel do that. Yeah. You know, you've got sort of like, I'm using a towel here, but I have been using paper over the top of that as well, or just sometimes, you know, just paper on its own. Now, the big discussion here has been about face holes, yeah, and the use of face holes. So from a sanitising point of view, I have been using face holes, by the way, you know, for people with seriously restricted necks and things who want to be down there. And then again, you just use your rolled up sort of tissue, your couch roll, and make a loop out of that so they're lying on that. And when they depart, you need to make sure that you've sanitised under the couch directly where they were breathing to. And you know, it's not just about cleaning the top of the couch and around it, that's obvious, but you actually have to turn the whole thing upside down and disinfect the whole area. Otherwise, the next person in is going to be lying in the face, possibly lying in that, or decide not to use a face hole. Yeah. But I found it was okay. It's just a bit more work, but you know, it's not all the time that someone's that restricted. I ask if they can just turn their head to the side. They definitely can't. I either treat in a chair or I'll lie them flat. It's really important I get to the necks at the back and the upper thoracic. Yeah. So getting on and off is exactly the same. I've got my shoes on at the minute, so I'm going to keep my shoes off at the end. Is exactly the same. The big thing is about just working. Can you see me here? It's just working around the neck. So you can work all the way up to sort of around this sort of area and the shoulders, but don't go behind here and then be over them in any way. Even at arm's length, you can see this is not a meter. So even if Shannon's here, working here, even if she bends down on her knees, so gets down on the knees and turns her head away or down and away, she still can't get, even at arm's length, away from me. And then even if I cough now or breathe, I'm going directly into her spear. You see? Yeah?
Yeah.
So please follow the guideline on that. And then everything else, just carry on your treatment as normal. Yeah. If you're doing work face to face here, watch that too. Yeah. So if you can't get more than a meter away in terms of standing face to face with them, then don't try and do it from behind, whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Those are sort of the biggest pieces that I've noticed in the last week where I thought, need to adapt. Yeah. And then of course, once you've got them down, then you're going to have to start the whole, you know, sanitizing them. Now, when they've arrived at my clinic, I've met them outside the clinic with 0 handshakes or elbow bumps or anything. And I've done my online consultation prior. So I don't need to speak. It's the first thing I say, I'll be keeping the speaking to an absolute minimum during this. And it's so tempting to get into the banter. It's so tempting to get into finding out how they've coped during this time and to really have that social discussions, what we're all about. But you've got to keep it down to an instructional level, as though you were doing a body exam. You know, you're not allowed to speak, so you don't speak, and that's really, really important. Yeah. There's something else I was going to say in that. I meet them outside. I give them their own mask. I control the maskage. They do arrive with them. Yeah. But I use what I need to control. I need to control my clinical end. So I know that this is a fresh new mask, and I hand that to them with gloves on and say, please don that and get them to do it all correctly, etc., etc. And then I also sort of say, right now, sanitize your hands straight away, and I get them to do. I think Shannon will demonstrate quickly the actual hand washing thing as well. I think all of us are pretty au fait with that now. Yeah, and then I'll also check their temperature, and they carry out a short questionnaire online that says really clearly, sort of like, you know, what they've been exposed to, if possible, you know, and all those things. Once all those things are in place, then it's just a question of reversing it. It's the same, like, I think some professional bodies have been saying people should bring their own towels. No, because you just don't know what dog, cat, person, thing, move, pool, spa, you just don't know. So control your own linen as well. That's the key thing to all of that. So once you're up and away, it then comes to, you know, you've got to sort your client out first in terms of taking masks off them, and you know, they won't be wearing gloves. Most of the time, we don't have to wear gloves as long as we're doing the hand sanitizing. Yeah, that's not absolutely essential, but if there is human skin to skin contact, then, you know, if it's not too annoying, then wear gloves. Yeah, and those treatments that can keep the person with their clothes on, keep the clothes on, so that you know, something like the Bowen technique, we're lucky that we can do that. I know massage, obviously, that's harder. Yeah. So does this make sense so far?
Absolutely, makes absolutely perfect sense, and I think it's so useful, and people are going to learn so much from this. And particularly, as you said, I think, you know, the things that people aren't thinking of, because when people say, "Oh, keep away 1 meter from the head environment," they're not considering that really constrains you to about here. And and the adaptation to actually work from behind, not face to face. So very much like, I hate to say this, the hairdresser approach.
Yeah. So it's like just keep away from face, and that's sometimes hard if you're doing, you know, manual therapy that needs you standing in front or to gauge responses. I also found that when I was asking what I could ask with words, it was minimal words, but also trying to find out how they are, because you're not picking up on how they're feeling. So you've got to watch their face, but you can't stay in front of their face. So it's the whole thing is just flipped on its head. Yeah, but you sort of, like I say, your personality still shines through, so that really helps. So then you've got to go through the getting your clients sorted out. Yeah. So if I was wearing the gloves, you would then tell me to, you know, which would you do first with me if I was your client and I was wearing a mask and gloves?
Well, definitely it would be the client disposes of their own mask, and you have your bin ready. I do believe it's maybe double bagged.
Double bagged.
Yeah, double bagged bin.
With a lid and a putty pedal.
So everything's done by feet, okay? So I would ask my client to take off the mask.
The mask first.
Well, your client's not going to be wearing gloves.
No.
So your client's only going to be wearing masks. So I'm going to fall into a client now. And the apron off.
Yeah. So if you're wearing a mask, I would be wearing an apron.
So it means that you don't need to be close to them for them to do this. You have the bin ready for them. You just ask them to take off by the ears, and put it into the bin.
Going in bin.
Yeah. Then I would just ask them to sanitize their hands afterwards. Yeah, so we just have our night alcohol hand sanitizer.
Yep.
That works. So you'd ask your client, and you don't need to touch them, go near them, they can do that all themselves, manage the system. And then you would just ask them to go out.
Go out.
That's it. Out into the fresh air. You know, at this point, I would say, you know, you won't be having any interaction afterwards outside, because you are still in your PPE. You are still, and now you are contaminated as well. So that's where we really got to think. And this is why we use in scrub language is the dirty word, because we are now dirty. You know, and during the whole process, as soon as you engage with that client, you cannot touch it. There's no scratching of the nose or twiddling of the ear or anything like that. It's very important to be aware. Try not to. That's why this gear's here. You know, so if you go to do that, it can't be done. And if you need to cough, sneeze, blow your nose, you need to discard your PPE. You need to go and do that, wash your hands, and don the PPE on again. Okay? So it is quite important that way, because you are contaminated, dirty, whatever terminology you wish to use. So that's my client. My client has now left the room. We also need to be aware that that client has been lying on the sheets. So that too now is contaminated. So I would suggest I would get rid of the sheets first before you start to take off. Because if you take off and you do all your correct cleaning, brilliantly, beautifully done, and you go back, that's you contaminated again. Okay?
It's easy done as well. You nearly forget. You know,
yeah.
It's,
I was thinking about that now. It's just where can we remove the contaminated stuff, and we are left without having to touch anything. You know, I would personally suggest that you have a hand sanitizer gel for your clients and one for you, because then you know it's being used only by you as well. So it's just that extra protection. So whatever way you want to dispose of your linen, I would do that first. Okay, so whether you bag it up, put it in, whatever, get rid of it outside, whatever is whatever you're going to do. But basically, yes, so now we are contaminated and dirty. So the first thing we're going to do is take off gloves. And it's important as to how we take off the gloves as well. We want to ensure that we aren't using the contaminated gloves and touching us or touching any area around us. So firstly, you can see that there's a gap in my glove just naturally sitting there. So we can take, with our dirty hand, take our thumb underneath the glove, trying to get the best angle, and remove it so that the outside of the glove, which is dirty, contaminated, is now inside. Okay, so this was the part that was touching my skin, and I know that's okay to touch. All right, then we're going to use that glove and wrap it up into our other hand, so it's there. I'm going to do the same with our hand and take the glove, and that's on the inside of the glove where I know it's been touching my skin, and that's it. And that's the clean area that's been touching my skin. Everything else inside is contaminated. Again, pedal bin, in we go. Done, okay? So before we do anything else I want to clean my hands before I touch anything else, all right? to ensure that this bit's clean. So it's the hand sanitizer gel or wash your hands, okay? I'll go into, everybody knows there's a 7-step technique with regards to hand gel and washing, and I'll just pinpoint the bits that are missed. It's the inside of the palms, okay? And that gets your fingernails as well. It's the wrists we miss, and it's in between the fingers, okay? So I'll let you go and have a look as to how to do the technique. I have my own system that isn't in steps 1, 2, and 7, but they're all there. And I want you to just get up with your own system that works, and it's really, really helpful to do that. Also, they're recommending 15 to 20 seconds of hand washing. I always do at least 40 seconds. I think they're saying sing happy birthday twice. I sing Taylor Swift chorus, shake it off. That's just my way. As a scrub nurse, I always automatically clean down my arms because this is an area that will be exposed, and you may touch or brush your client. It's just really useful to do, you know, and everything's away from the hands. So you finish off with the wrists, down, done, down, done. Now, if you're using soap and water, you've already turned your tap on. If you have the screw taps, if you go to turn your tap off with your hand, you're touching the contaminated tap and you've just cleaned your hands. So what we say is get a paper towel, dry your hands, bin, paper towel inside bin, get a second paper towel and turn the tap off with that, okay? So if you can imagine my fist as a tap, I'll take a paper towel, turn the tap off, bin. I don't suggest using any towels or anything like that. I do suggest you get disposable paper towels, kitchen roll, anything, because you just don't know how good your hand washing is. You just don't know, you know, it's always, that's the way we do it, scrub, clean, clean, bin, and that's it, done. So the next step is we've got our clean hands, we need to take our apron off, okay? So this is all contaminated. We want to try and minimize spreading it about. So we're going to take the apron at the top and pull it off around our neck, and it should just fall, if you can see, down. Okay, so the contaminated area is tucked in down here. Okay, this is the clean side, this is the contaminated side, tucked down. Then we want to take it off our back from behind.
Particularly strong, by the way.
These are, oh, they are very strong. So this is now our gown. You can literally fold it up. And I know that this side is clean because it's been touching my skin. And this is just practice this with, you know, take the time so you're not rushing. Then I know that is in the bin, gone. Okay, so aprons off. Again, we've touched something dirty. It is a lot of hand washing. You know, we've suffered a lot with our skin because we're doing it extremely thoroughly. But again, your hand washing technique, if that's what you want as well. The next thing is our visor. Now these visors are washable, which are great. So I would have just a bucket ready for them, whatever way you want to clean them. That's up to you and what the guidelines say or what your choices are. But the visor comes off as well. Okay, so that's now dirty and disposed of. It's going in my...
It's in soapy water.
Soapy water, yeah. So it's not, I put it in something that's not going to start spreading it again as well. Again, hand wash again. And last but not least, we've got the mask, and this will probably be the most contaminated area as well because it's got you and everything else. So again, it's just behind the ears. We want to take off the mask. We do not want to fold it, touch it, look at it any more so than we need to. It's in the bin and gone. So at that point, that's you completely off with your PPE. I've used alcohol gel in my hands. I love it. I think it's brilliant, but I prefer right now a bit of hot soapy water, and that's where I'm saying, and get that technique and get the elbows right down. You know, once you're down to the elbows, switch and right down. You don't go back from elbows up to the hands, okay? Because that'll, again, contaminate the hands. So, and then afterwards, I would dry with my cloth, as I said earlier, and then I would hand sanitize gel after that. And that's me ready for my next client, my next patient. I hope.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful, Shannon. That was an absolutely masterly display. And I think it's again something that people will watch, because and practice, and kind of put some music on and dance along to it while they practice it. You know, make it a bit of fun. Makes it a bit of fun.
Yeah. And you've got the full half hour of cleaning after that as well, guys. You know, so you've actually got to then disinfect. You probably have to put another set of gear on if you're going to do that as well. That's the other thing. Or like you were saying, you'd get that all done first, would you?
Well, no, that would be decontaminated air. So that's areas removed, as in the bed sheets, but that's still a dirty area. So what we would be using is gloves, apron, and we generally in hospital settings have to wear masks 24/7 to clean that down. Again, you know, so it's just every thought process is just about you trying to protect yourself. You know, that's the best way to do that. And remember, as soon as you've got your gear on, as soon as you have that interaction, it's a dirty work area. You know, just keep remembering that. You know, so if you're going to take your gloved hands and touch, that area is now dirty. If you're going to scratch here, that area is now dirty. So you've got to think of what level that you can reduce the areas for contamination, you know. So, and your uniform will protect you, and, you know, take that off whenever you leave clinic and go home in your ordinary clothes. Go into work in your ordinary clothes and get dressed in your clinic. Just keep everything there. Keep you, your family safe, you know. And if you're doing that, you're gonna keep your clients safe. You're gonna protect others, you know.
I was going to say, you know, Shannon is one of those amazing key workers that's been through in the COVID ward all the way through this, and has family members at home, and we have been squeaky clean all the way through, thanks to Shannon's, you know, diligence, you know, in terms of the PPE.
And, yeah, and that's exactly what I've been doing at work with positives as well, you know, kind of COVID positives. That's what we've been told to wear, and that's what we've been given to wear, and that's what I've been doing. And it's definitely down to the hand washing, it's definitely down to the technique, and it's definitely down to taking all the dirty attire off before you go home. And I go home and I will wash from head to toe, you know. So get yourself some really good shampoo, conditioner, nice products for you and your skin. You're going to notice a difference. My skin broke out very badly just from the constant. You can see how much you have to just for one patient. Yeah, I'm looking up to at least 10 patients at a time sometimes, you know. So yeah, you just, and as I say, it will become automatic. And don't be hard on yourself. Get the kids involved. If you have kids, make it fun. As I say, we sing happy birthday. Teach them how to wash their hands properly. I've had my daughter say, Mommy, you haven't done that right. There's 8 steps. You have to dry them. And I'm thinking, thank you. That's a good point. I always dry, but yes, that's a step. So it's just have that involvement, you know, and it's going to be tiring at the start because you have to think.
It's tiring. But
it will become normal, and it's normal for me now to go and do this. This comes so naturally now that it's just a part of, if you don't have your gear on, you're going, what have I missed? I'm feeling like I'm missing something, you know. So, but yeah. And then enjoy the treatment, enjoy getting back to work, you know, enjoy that touch. You know,
and try not to put more than 3 or 4 in a day. You know, it's going to really tire you out. I know, and I'm a high energy person, as you know, and I came back tired, you know, with that process. You're not just treating and thinking and treating, are you? You're also dealing with that whole, you know, shebang. So it's, you know, as therapists, we get tired on all sorts of levels as part of the profession. So this is just an extra tiredness. So go easy. Please don't try to go for the full 10, 12 in a day. You know, you're probably going to get through a week and be on your knees. So look after yourself.
I think that's such a really good point. And I think the other thing is to invest in some really good skin cream if you're not using it at the moment.
It's a must. I mean, that's what I've noticed is I've been working with my skin with the masks as well, you know. So you're looking after these people, look after you, and it's actually, it feels good that you've done that for yourself as well, because as I say, it is extremely tiring. It is extremely, you know, demanding, all the steps that you have to take. But, you know, once you've got it, at least you know you are safe, your client is safe, your family is safe. You know, if you don't take these steps, the consequences are, as we know.
We're going to put some links up as well, because Shannon managed to get the actual links to the full PPE on and off PDF. Yeah, so we'll send that across. But also, Judith Watson runs a fantastic company with all the hand creams and things that we absolutely adore, and they've been the best out of the lot. So we'll put that in too. which is also a therapist as well. So I think things like that help.
Yeah, she's been fantastic. She's been really helpful. She's been sending me nice bits of soap and just look after you. So yes,
the packages arriving.
Yeah,
you should then spray.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so in summing up, do you know what went through my mind actually when you were saying you've got to think it's dirty? It reminded me of, you know, when you put plaque remover on your teeth and it shows up red with where all the things are, and just thinking, well, if I've touched here, it's like having that horrible red plaque.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think it's almost that mind shift that you have to take to control what you would just naturally do.
Mm.
And the other thing I've really been thinking about is you know, if coming to terms with a client, if the client sort of might think, oh, it's client education, it really is client education. The thing is really watching our own body language. You know, are we communicating our discomfort to them? If we can somehow come to terms with it and communicate that we are very comfortable with this, that it's just totally normal, the client's going to pick up on that, and maybe it's going to be easier for everyone.
Yeah, so for those ones that were challenging me on sort of this and saying, just ignore it, and we'll have a giggle at the fact that my knuckles make so much noise. And I mean, that's what we ended up doing. We just ended up laughing. So just ignore it. I am perfectly normal. I'm still the same therapist. I'm still me. Look, you know, sort of like, it's me. Do it with your eyebrows. And learning to smile, as we have been doing, all of us, I think, from behind masks and stuff like that.
Very hard.
You know, and then it's just, although it's not an absolute regulation that both of you, the client and the therapist, are wearing masks, I'm just saying making sure that, you know, everyone wears a mask. Yeah, definitely. So.
Emma, I think she asked it a little bit. She said, does it mean we can only work on the neck area if the client is prone or sitting?
Good question. And I think, yes, that's what keeps you away from direct breathing. So if the person's sitting, you can work with them behind and you just adapt to what you're doing. Or the person, like you say, is lying down prone with the face going face down towards the floor. Then again, you can work on the neck and the back, you know, around that. But it's just when you're doing all jaw work, you know the position I mean, the position that Shannon was in there, that's the no. Yeah.
Susanna, she also says, thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Says, please clarify, would I take my PPE off, then have to put it on again, gloves, mask, to clean the couch?
I personally would. You wouldn't necessarily need the visor, but I personally would, because you just don't know where the client's touched. So they might have touched under and played with the table underneath, you know, especially, you know, if you are leaving the room at any point whilst the client's, you know, having that rest time, you know, so you just don't know what they've touched. I personally would, not necessarily visor I wouldn't use, but I would definitely wear the mask, because, you know, there might have been a tissue in a pocket that's fallen on the ground. It's just that, you know, and clean it down and again dispose, and just, yeah, absolutely, I think so.
And yeah, absolutely. I changed this last week. I've been in 2 sets. You know, I had a bin full at the end. You know, it was, and it is frustrating from an environmental position unless you can also get hold of the stuff that's all organic and recyclable. But you know, for now, it's like the new plastic bottle scenario, isn't it? And we've got it now with PPE. But yes, for ultimate safety, then wear the ones the outfit you're wearing for your client, you know, and wear another set to clean, but without the visor. But in that time, your visor's sitting doing its soaking thing, and then you're going to spray it down. It's ready for the next.
Personally, I'm just thinking I would have a bin for the client stuff and a bin for your stuff, because you know, at least you know that their stuff is going in there, and you're not, just in case something touches or mixes, at least it's yours and it's not theirs, you know, especially with the way COVID can transfer on spores, you know. So that's something, it's just things I would think of. I know it's a lot of extra work, but when you have it and you do it right, you're safe, you know. I know this through fact, you know, so
it's not just COVID, is it? It's like, you know, I've noticed how much weller, you know, we've been, you know, the whole family hasn't had a cold or a cough or a sniffle or a gastro bug or anything. And I noticed that the other thing that was making me laugh about all this, it did make me laugh, you've got to laugh, is that I know that everyone who's been diagnosed with OCD out there right now is going, told you. And, you know, this whole thing about we're cleaning too much and all the rest of it, I'm not quite sure where that's going. But we'll see as things develop. But, you know, they were kind of right. Now we're all running around cleaning door handles and checking everything. And it's normalised, and that's all we have to do is get this normalised, like you said there, Rosemary. It's so true. Just see it as normal, you won't think twice, but be ready with the amount of gear, right amount of gear, and repeat orders, because 4 clients a day is 8 sets of kit.
Yeah. Julianne says, and I think I know the answer to this. She says, thank you for this. She says, do I need to change my mask for every client? Well, yes. And Emma, hi Emma, she says, I would need to go into my reception room after the treatment. Would you suggest I take my PPE off in the treatment room, put new PPE into reception room to sort the payment / new appointments for client, then obviously new PPE for cleaning down? I think, I actually, to be honest, the payment, what's being suggested with payment is that ideally you pay in advance.
Yeah, so, yeah. All the admin, all the pre-interviewing, all the payments is, you know, if you've got a Summit, I use Summit machine, and it's just a contactless onto the Summit machine with my phone, and then I use a Pointy, which is remote, and no one's hanging around. We just sort it all out via the phone and messages and stuff like that. So there's no sort of the chat in the reception areas at all. It's just all done separately, and like I say, there's hardly any talking anyway.
Yeah, and that's the to minimise appointments. Sorry, talking. You really can't be chatting about appointments, so it is something that's got to be done online, phone.
All at once. If you go to the run, then it's just like that's it, 4 done. I find the modality of a Pointy is brilliant. I've used it for years. You've got a free version, and it sends, you know, you pay a little bit of extra, it'll send messages out and do all this thing. You know how these work, and like I say, the remote payments and stuff. It doesn't have to be complicated and high tech. It's just the systems are there for you.
Yeah, but with regards to moving from treatment room to reception room, the way I would see it is that space is all one space regardless of a door, you know. So you could go out with that PPE on, but you're going to have to clean that whole workspace, door frames, door handles, where they touch, everything, seat coverings. You know, if you can get your clients to stand, get them stand. Obviously they're in pain and sore. Get the chair that is plastic, that is wipeable. You've got everything that is in that room needs to be wiped down. You know, so it's also, if you can minimize the work, minimize what's in the room, everything, it reduces your workload.
Just made me think of the other point as well, that there's I'm using disposable plastic cups for water and stuff, so that they're, you know, recyclable plastic cups, so that they've got a separate cup for the water as well, because you don't want mugs and things and that, and you know, all of the teas and the coffees and the juices and the drinks and the chat, everything is gone. You know, look at your clinic room, it should be absolutely have nothing in it. Nothing.
If it's there, it needs cleaned.
Not for pretty ornaments, not for pretty crystals, not for pretty, all the things that, you know, we like to look at and love, all the essential oils, all the bits and nicks and nacks and everything. Pictures on the wall, gone. So it's just your couch, your gear, your shining personality.
Shining from beyond the plastic.
Beyond nicks and nacks.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Darwin's got another question actually. She says, do I use wipes or hot soapy water for the bed?
Oh, okay.
It's a good question. Hot soapy water has always been what we wash our hands with in work. We do have more alcohol type based. My personal preference would possibly be to use the wipes. Just because I know that there are bits in them, you know, it might not give that actual kill. Yeah. You know, personally speaking, I would do that.
But we use Co, don't we?
Yeah, well, we use Co. We use Zaflora as well, because it's got that disinfectant level in it. I mean, in work we use other high, strongly intoxicating chemicals. We have to wear all the gear for that as well, for cleaning. So it's I would get something that definitely has antibacterial, whether it's wipeable or whether you use hot soapy water as well. It's just dependent on what that product is. But you also have to remember you're breathing this in, and that's what I've noticed a lot, is that these chemicals in, so that you can afford, that's the more natural way, but still going to do the same job. That's down to you guys do that research as well. So whatever you find works.
And absolutely, but in terms of the burn technique as well, is you can't do double rooms. I heard that come out on Facebook yesterday, that people were actually going back and doing double rooming, which is just like, you know,
you can't do that in that time frame. You have to take your PPE on, off,
you know, do that whole thing between.
And get your hand washing right. You know, you're going to have to, by the time you're ready, got your kit on for that next client, you're going to have to take it all off to go do the other. So to be honest, that's not fair on the clients. I would highly not recommend.
Discourage.
Extremely, because that's not fair. That's like me going from one patient, stripping off quickly, wipe, going back into another patient, and that's how we contaminate in work, because we're not washing and using our equipment effectively. That's why I do not do that. You know, so just think that's somebody's mother, sister, brother. That's someone. Yeah. So if it's just a no. End off.
Fabric spray as well, something else we use. We run an Airbnb to our, you know, a self-catering chalet, and the fabric spray has been brilliant. And we use a company called Out of Eden, and they've been brilliant. You know, nice local company in Cumbria. You know, nice sort of family run, and you get it in 5-litre batches. You know, spray gun, and you spray everything. You know, it's your carpet. And we've got carpets in here that we can clean, but I suggest you have no carpets in your clinics and stuff like that. You know, anything that's soft, like it could be fabric on a surface somewhere, just spray all that as well.
I mean, if we can have the link for that. I've just got a few more questions. I'm coming thick and fast. If you've got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, okay. And Darwin says, can I use a waterproof mattress cover for my bed?
Oh, yes.
Well, yeah, but you're going to have to clean it. Anything you can use, you've got to clean. You know, so you can use whatever it is that you choose to use that works best for you. Absolutely. Anything light. Towels, I think, are going to be gone. Get the room warm so that, you know, the blankets, all that is all the comfort side of it, and it's a brilliant part of the therapy. But yes, if you want it, but you're going to have to wash it, and it's a lot to do.
Yeah. Practical is going to go through late and keep people warm.
Yeah. Emma says, but this has been so helpful. Thank you so much for sharing. And she's asked, what would you do if the client cannot get themselves onto the bed themselves? Is it okay to help them?
Yes. You've got your gear on?
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I use. I'm doing teeth washing, all that. I'm doing all the personal hygiene, and that is my gear that has kept me safe. And I know that for a fact. You know, I haven't had COVID, I've had the test, you know, and things, and I just feel it down to this level of hygiene and hand washing. It's hands, you know, definitely. Yeah, and it's nice if they want that touch, you know. Just bear in mind, if you're close, but if you can still do it from here, it's just still protecting, you know, so.
And do you pre-warn your clients that there will be minimum talking before the session or during the session?
Yeah, I've got an email that goes out with the appointee booking that lists what my expectations are from them, and what my actions will be as well to protect them and myself. So it's so everything's very clued up before they even arrive with us, down to what they're wearing, down to, you know, so they're not wearing thick jeans and stuff like that. They don't have to sort of take clothes off and leave them hanging around in the room either. And you know, it's just very clean line. Yeah.
And it is, I mean, it is challenging from my side. You know, I think if I saw that whenever I'm vulnerable and in pain coming towards me, it is quite scary. So it's just with the tone of your voice, your body language is a massive impact now, you know. It's just all that will help reassure, because normally we use this and we don't, you know, you often forget that you're hidden behind this and they can't see it, you know. So just body language, tone of voice, softness, I've got you, you know, all that touch. Yeah.
Right, I mean, so much is about body language, tone of voice, softness, even if you can't see the smile.
Yeah.
We're sort of giving them that care in another way, and very much, you know, it's resisting. Is you can do it from a distance. You actually can have touch, she said, from there, and it means the same. It's got the same emotional impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It does, and that's what I've noticed, you know, just with patients, they're scared, you know, and your clients will possibly be feeling that as well, because it's all new, and they are possibly vulnerable people as well that haven't been out and don't know what it's like to be out, and have just heard the media and the news, and it's scary for them. And it's down to the touch and the reassurance that they are safe, because you have made yourself safe. If you feel vulnerable, they're going to feel that too. So make yourself safe and know that you're doing the right thing. Yeah.
And I think also that it's the whole thing of recognizing that you're taking that care, you are following the guidelines.
Yes.
And you are keeping them safe.
Yeah.
And
it's all about the safety.
It's a reflection on you and your profession. This is your job. This is your professional job. You've got to respect. If you have enough respect for that, you will do it the right way, you know. And the guidelines are there. We follow the guidelines. The guidelines are forever changing. I could go and shift the next day. It's changed. So I'm sometimes going, do I wear this? What do I wear? What are we doing? You know, and that's what we just have to follow, because nobody knows. And it's literally within hours, it's changing, you know. So, and we get 1 minute this, the next minute after lunch, you're coming back and everybody else is doing something else. So just be prepared for change, you know, but it's in the best interest to keep you safe, you know, so.
yeah, Emma says, is there a preferred or better website to find the latest guidelines? Really, you just you need to look at each devolved administration's guidelines. That's it, really, and the public health for each devolved administration. Oh, that was a mouthful. I think we've run out of questions. We've got a lot of thank you so much. It's been really helpful. And I think, you know, this is the kind of thing that people, as I said before, can watch and will watch repeatedly just to get it into their heads. Put some music on, have a little play, see it as a game, understanding that you are absolutely doing the right thing, keeping everybody safe, keeping up the reputation of the industry as a whole. And as you said so much, Paula, demonstrating the level of professionalism that is required in a close contact service.